All right, fellas, let's talk about it. Ethan Budowsky here, another Marlins reaction video, and reacting to the big news of the day. News we're all very disappointed about, I believe, and it's that Monte Harrison will not make the Marlins opening day roster. He has been left off of the 30-man roster that will be in place for opening day. It's very shocking news, to be honest. I think we're all very surprised by it. It's something that we didn't expect. It's something that we were told was going to happen, that Monte was going to be on the opening day roster. All signs pointed to it. Don Mattingly made it seem like it was going to happen. He talked very highly of Monte. He especially talked highly of Monte's defense, saying that any position that you put him in the outfield, he is the best defender on the field at that time. So the fact that he was talking about his defense more than the power, what usually jumps off at you with Monte, suggested that they would at least want him as a defensive staple, the guy that's going to patrol center field and be the everyday center fielder for the Marlins, which we still believe will happen, obviously, in the future. But it's really disappointing to not see Monte on the opening day roster for a lot of reasons. Before we get into those reasons, let's talk about why the Marlins may have done this. And the Marlins do have reasons, whether you agree with them or not, to have left Monte off. The obvious one is that service time. And this is going to be something that, this is just the way the game goes because of the way that the collective bargaining agreement is structured, is that teams are going to work their way to get as many years of control for guys as they can. So the Marlins obviously want to control, have contract control for Monte for as many years as possible. This pushes it back a year if they bring him up after the, I believe it's August 6th deadline. So the Marlins may have been doing it for that reason. Maybe there's stuff behind the scenes that we're not seeing. There are reports that he was striking out a lot when he wasn't hitting home runs. That's something that we need to take into account. That's very possible. There's roster spots on the roster that have been filled by other people. Magnoris Sierra. Everybody expected Magnoris to make the big league roster this year. Everybody expected Harold Ramirez to make the big league roster this year. If those were the two guys that were chosen over Monte, then so be it. The problem is, if you're constructing the roster to have the best players, if you want to win the most games possible by putting out the best lineup that you can with the best players possible, Monte Harrison has to be in center field every day for the Miami Marlins right now. And that's just the fact. That's just the fact of the matter, is that he is the best player that you can have in center field on your team right now. And if you're in win now mode, like you're saying, and the fans want you to be because of the circumstances where if you get hot, you might make the playoffs, then Monte Harrison should be out there every day because he provides the most offense, he provides the best defense, and he's just going to get it done for you. So that's why it's frustrating to me, because the Marlins have been preaching this win now attitude, but this action doesn't really back it up. Obviously, they have their reasons, and yes, I understand wanting to, that while it's unfair and I don't agree with it, that because of the way the league is set up, you can get that extra year of service time by waiting a couple weeks to call him up, then I understand. The Marlins, they're going to do what they're going to do. And they have to because they want Monte locked up as long as they can. Whatever the case may be, it's just the wrong decision for me from a baseball standpoint. We all saw what Monte was doing in camp. We heard the raving about it. And because of that, we thought he was going to be on the opening day roster. And we're disappointed because of what Monte can bring. And this is the other reason that I think the Marlins made a bad decision. There's 60 games this year. The Marlins are not one of the best teams in Major League Baseball. They need to create some excitement in 60 games. People can't go to the games. People aren't allowed in the stadium. They need to create some excitement for the people that are watching at home. Obviously, I think a lot of people will watch just because they got nothing else to do with quarantine and everything right now. But they need to create some excitement. They need to put a product on the field that's going to excite people, that's going to get them to want to turn their TV to Fox Sports Florida and watch the Marlins. And I don't think Harold Ramirez is going to do that for a lot of people. All credit to Harold. He's a good player. And I don't think Magnoris Sierra is going to do that either. But Monte Harrison is going to do that because he's one of the top prospects. He's a top 10 prospect in the organization. Everybody knows about him that follows the Marlins closely. He was in the Yelich trade. Let's not forget about this. The Marlins still have to find something out of that Yelich trade. We obviously know what happened with Brinson. We think Isan Diaz should have a nice year, a bounce-back year after struggling in his time in the MLB when he came up towards the end of last year. They got to get something out of this trade. And so if you put Monte out there and he starts balling, you can say, well, look, there's that guy that we got for trading that MVP. So I think that's one reason. And the other thing is he plays the game with an energy and a swag that the Marlins don't have right now on the field every day. And if they want that, they want fans to get excited about the team, this young team that's up and coming, Monte should be the face of that. He should be the face of, we're young, we're exciting, we're brash, we play the game the right way with some energy and some flair. He's a guy that's going to flip his bat when he hits a home run. He's a guy that's going to stare home runs down. He's got the chains. He's got the sleeve. He looks good when he's playing baseball. And he's an awesome dude. We talked to Monte on the Earning Their Stripes podcast. He was one of my favorite interviews. He's a nice guy, and he loves to play baseball. And I think the Marlins are robbing him of that, of playing baseball at the highest level. And they're robbing their fans of the excitement of watching a guy that they've wanted to see in the bigs for a while now. So yes, the Marlins do have their reasons, and their reasons are understandable because of the condition, the climate in which Major League Baseball is in. Obviously, I think that the service time is going to change, and that's a whole other discussion that we can have about service time and the way that teams are able to manipulate it. Whatever the case may be, I think the Marlins made the wrong decision here. Monte Harrison earned his way onto the opening day roster for the Miami Marlins this year. He should be patrolling center field. He shouldn't just be on the roster. He should be in the lineup on opening day. And I think the Marlins made the wrong move. I'm not going to, come out and say this is the worst move ever. I'm certainly not going to stop following the team because of it. It's just a decision that the Marlins made. I feel passionately about it, but it doesn't change the outlook on the season. The outlook on the season is the same. If the Marlins win 25 games this year, it's a successful season. If we see some growth from the youth, like Isan Diaz, if Sandy Alcantara has a good year, if Pablo Lopez continues to improve, and then if we do see Monte, which I'm going to finish up on this point that it's still possible we see Monte, it'll be a successful year if we see that kind of development from the Marlins, and if they win a few ball games, because I said they should win 70 ball games when it was an 162-game season. Based on that, the Marlins should win about 25, 26 games this year. If they do, it's a success. Now, the final thing I'll finish on is that we can't see Monte this year. If the Marlins are just using this as a service time manipulator, and they're just trying to get that extra year out of Monte, then they can call him up on August 6th, I think, is when that goes away. That would be huge. That's only 2 weeks. 2 weeks from when the season starts. So we might only not see Monte for 2 weeks. We can get through 2 weeks without him, especially if he comes up and he does well. So there's still hope. There's still a good chance that we see Monte. Injuries happen. A guy's going to go down. And I think that the Marlins will have Monte on speed dial. I think he's their first call if somebody goes down, if somebody gets hurt, and if they need a guy to come in and jump right into the lineup and provide some life to the lineup, a lineup that needs life. They brought in Aguilar, they brought in Dickerson, they brought in VR to bring life, and I think Harrison was a guy that should have been able to do that. So overall, a disappointing day for Marlins fans, a disappointing decision, a shocking decision, but one that does not mean the end of seeing Monte Harrison in a Marlins uniform this year. Baseball starts next week. I can't wait. We'll talk soon.